Hello guys, it's T-Rex here, and welcome to part 2 of the Solar System Spotlight, this time featuring the outer solar system. That means everything outside the asteroid belt. Now, this planet that we're looking at right now is one of Jupiter's moons, and one of its well-known moons, Io. Io was first discovered by Galileo hundreds of years ago, and so it has a radius of 1800 kilometers and an orbital period of 1.8 days. It's pretty impressive. So it's basically orbiting very fast since Jupiter has a huge size, and we can see Jupiter in the background over here. So Jupiter is right here. So imagine if you were actually living on Io, then you would see this huge Jupiter in the sky almost every time.
Frameshift drive charging.
So let's go to the light side of Jupiter to get a better look at it.
3, 2, 1, engage.
So if you haven't noticed, actually the Orbis Stay Starport that's orbiting the moon, Earth's moon, is called Galileo, but I don't know. Galileo probably wasn't the first one to look at the moon, but he was the first one to look at Io, so I don't know why Galileo station is not stationed around Io, but rather far down Earth, far down to the moon, so I don't know about that. So this is Jupiter. We are swinging around its light side. You can see the sun all the way back over there. Alright, I think that's enough. So let's turn back around. So this is Jupiter, Class 1 gas giant. Biggest planet in our solar system, and you can see there's a resource extraction site over there where you can mine. So we can see Saturn in the distance, and that is exactly where we are going next. So as you may know, Jupiter has this another moon that is very famous. It's called Europa. It's also discovered by Galileo, but I just went there a couple hours ago, and I thought it wasn't much to show because it was just white and icy planet, and yeah, so there wasn't much to see compared to the colorful basic composition of Io. So for the sake of time, we're just gonna go straight to Saturn and look at the famous moon of Saturn too, which is Titan. Yeah, when you get into the outer solar system, it takes a ton of time just to get from one planet to the other, because there's just space so much apart. So maybe I'll add some facts right here. So Jupiter has a radius of 71,000 kilometers, and basically it weighs about 317 Earths. That's its mass. Very, very massive. And its orbital period is around 4,300 days. So that is, let's say, 300. So that's about 10 years compared to an Earth year. Also, Saturn, so I'll add some facts about Saturn here too. So Saturn is slightly smaller than Jupiter at a radius of 59,000 kilometers, and its orbital period is exponentially longer. It's about 10,759 days. That is, wow, about, I don't know, 30 years. 30 years on Earth is 1 year on Saturn. I think that's how you calculate it. So we are approaching Saturn. You can see its beautiful, beautiful rings as we approach it. Saturn also has a absolute ton of moons. That's the farthest moon. Aetus. That's the farthest one. And so we want to actually look at its most famous moon, which is Titan. It also has a starport orbiting it, and Titan's right over there. Why are they all on the dark side every time? The ones that we look at are always on the dark sides of the planet, so we can't look at so let's actually look at Jupiter. I mean Saturn right here before we actually go to Titan. So this is going to be Saturn. The rings are silverish and very nice, very elegant. Its rings are made of ice and rock and sand and all that. Very peaceful view. Is there something moving over there? Unidentified signal source. Okay. Well, we can see Pluto all the way out there. We're going there also. But right now, we're heading to Titan. Titan is also a rocky ice world, basically. It's about 1/3, maybe a little more than 1/3 the size of Earth, and it has an orbital period around Saturn of 15.9 days. Yeah, so a pretty fast orbital speed too. Velocity, orbital velocity. So this is going to be Titan. Right now, some scientists speculate that we may be able to live on Titan, but that's only speculation, so... So, here's Titan, and there's an Orbis starport Titan City orbiting it. So, heading on to our next location, which is going to be Uranus. Uranus, where are you? That's a ton of distance away. I apologize if this episode will be very, very long, because that's what it really takes. So I will be basically when I edit the description box, I will put the time. Basically, you can the time links for each planet in the description box. So if you want to just skip this travel time and go right to the planet, then that will be possible for you guys. Oh, I get it. I get why Uranus is that far, because it is on the other side of the system. Duh. Yeah, we did not pick a good time. I'm sorry about that, guys. We should have picked a time where, I don't know, all the planets are approximately in an 180 degrees plane. Not totally on the opposite side. Because this is going to take a ton of time, an absolute ton of time. But we can enjoy the view. I mean, it's our own system, so we can see something's out there, definitely. Don't know what that is. That's Mars, Earth. I think this is Jupiter. Yeah, looks like it. Because Mars, and then, so basically right now, guys, we are traveling in the asteroid belt, although you can't really see any asteroids because we're traveling too fast. And as you can see, why I'm speeding down, it's not because I'm pulling the throttle down, it's because of the sun's gravity. It naturally slows me down. I cannot go fast, like so near the sun's influence. You can see Mercury, its closest planet. Mars, Venus, yep. Yeah, I know we're going really slow right now. But once we get across the sun's sphere of inner sphere of influence, we will be well on our way to Uranus. And hopefully we won't be too far from well, we're pretty far from Neptune, I guess. And then we also have Pluto and Charon, of course. We'll do that all in one episode. It won't take you guys that long because you guys can just click the links in the description box to look at each planet. But I have to sit here, you know. By the way, this is my stats for so I'm a midshipman in the Federation, and that basically gets you the Sol permit if you want to go home. No cargoes. Yeah, my jump range is around 14.77 when I'm not carrying anything, which is enough for most systems. There's really nothing around here. So Uranus is going to be half the size of Saturn, about that. It has a radius of around 25,000 kilometers, and it has an orbital period of 30,000 days. That is approximately a little less than 100 years on Earth. So yeah, you would be 1 year old if you were living on Uranus, and then you die at 100. So yeah, pretty interesting. So we are currently flying at 100 times light speed. We should slow down a bit just so we don't overshoot. If we overshoot at such a speed, we would overshoot out way much, like 500 light seconds. We need to slow down. Okay, we almost have Uranus in our sights. It's also a Class 1 gas giant. There's no stations currently around it since, I don't know, it's so out wide, I guess. Also, you can see the moons that it has. Alright, we're on our final approach. So there's its moon, Oberon, and what is that? Titania? Umbriel? Yeah, those are its moons. And Ariel. So this is Uranus sitting out wide, all by its own, very lonely. But very, very beautiful, once again. But my favorite is still Saturn, probably. Yeah, this is a peaceful blue planet. Alright, so let's set our next destination, which is going to be Neptune, which is even further away. It's all the way on the other side of the... Oh my gosh, please. Alright. So, let's get on our way. The good thing, one bad news, one good news. Neptune, the bad news is Neptune is 19,000 light seconds away. That means we're going to be crossing the galaxy. Crossing the solar system once again. But the good news is Pluto seems to be on the same side as Neptune, which means if you do some simple math, about 30, let's just say 30 light seconds minus 20,000 light seconds equals 10,000 light seconds. That means if we get to Neptune, we're not that far away from Pluto. And Charon, of course. It was actually the discovery of Charon as Pluto's moon that it was approximately almost like the same size, like half the size probably. Charon was half the size of Pluto. That that made scientists take Pluto off the planet list and made a new class for it called dwarf planets. So we can see the inner solar system and Saturn over there to our 9 o'clock position. Yeah, this episode might be a little boring. I'm sorry about that, guys, but you know, space travel. One good decision that I made this time, or naturally the system made me, is that I'm not that close to the sun as I did from when I flew from Saturn to Uranus. I basically crossed right from the center, and that slowed me down a lot. This time we're just swinging out wide, so we're getting to Neptune pretty quickly. By the way, feel free to add me on this game. So I'm Commander. I'm also known as Commander Last Triari, L-A-S-T, and then Triari, which is a Roman word for soldier, basically veteran soldier. So it's spelled as T-R-I-A-R-I-I, Triari. So you can add me. Yeah, so basically, all the other 8 planets are on a relatively 180 degrees plane to the sun. There's not that big of an angle difference, but you can see Pluto is all the way up there. There is an inclination on its orbital plane, traveling at 200 times light speed. We need to slow down. So Neptune is approximately almost the same size of Uranus, about 25,000 kilometers radius, and it has an orbital period, however, double that of Uranus. It has a larger orbit around the sun. It's about 60,000 days, basically 200 years. Yeah. Takes 200 years time for it just to orbit the sun once. There's Triton, which is one of its moons. Yeah, Neptune. Neptune's blue color is cooler than Uranus, I think, in my opinion. It's also a class 1 gas giant. Don't need to repeat that every time, I guess. You can see it also has some rings. Alright, so this is going to be the basically end of all the 8 planets, but Pluto, we have not forgotten you. So we are going over there. So Pluto, when I was in elementary school, Pluto was still on the part of the 9 planets. Then they took poor Pluto off. So yeah, because of its moon, Charon, which is approximately like the same size, well, about half the size, but yeah. So then they labeled Pluto as a dwarf planet. You guys can check that out if you want. So Pluto has a radius of 1,200 kilometers, which is even slightly smaller than our own moon. And it, obviously I said it's classified as a dwarf planet, and it has 6 moons actually. I think it was 6 moons. but Charon is the biggest one and the most well-known one, and Charon has a radius of 604 kilometers, 600 kilometers. So I don't know if any of you actually play Kerbal Space Program, which is another space simulation game. The planet Kerbin on there, where the Kerbals, the green little guys, live, is actually approximately the same size of as Charon. So 10 times smaller than Earth. And Charon orbits Pluto every 6.4 days. I wonder how the view of the sun on Pluto would be. It would be really, really tiny. That's why it's both Pluto and Charon are frozen forever. Also, when it's on its apoapse, it's even worse because it's just so far away from the sun. Whoops, we overshot it. Sorry, I'm so sorry, guys. Where the hell is that? I don't know. I have no idea. But where we want to go is Pluto, so... yeah, that's the center of the system. You can see the sun is that tiny. Yeah, we can barely see Pluto from 30 light seconds away, since it's so small. Slowing down. Because it doesn't have that much of a gravity field, so it can't capture us, so I made another mistake and overshot it again. Its gravity is just so little. So to escape, basically Pluto, to escape the sun's sphere of influence from Pluto is literally escaping the Earth's influence, like to the moon. For example, if you want to launch from Earth to the moon, there's a delta V for that. And that delta V is approximately the same when you want to escape the solar system from Pluto. So that's how far it is from the sun's influence. Yeah, so here we can see both of them pretty nicely. That's Pluto right there, and that is Charon, its moon. So yeah, let's get to the light side of it. Poor Pluto. So far away, literally. You can see they have actually an orbital line for Pluto, which just like orbits itself basically. That's why it's called a dwarf planet. It's not really orbiting, well, it is orbiting the sun, but it also orbits around something in the middle. So yeah, so you can see it's covered with ice and all that. And let's take a last look at Charon, since we won't probably be back since it takes too long. That's Charon. That's the inner solar system. You cannot see any of the other planets. All you see is a little tiny bit of light from the sun. So yeah, Charon's surface would look very much like Pluto's. Very, very much alike. So, here it is. Part 2 of the Solar System Spotlight, episode 12. So, I will see you guys in episode 13 tomorrow. And this is T-Rex, signing off.